it begins with accepting. Accept who you are. My dream had come true. Others' dreams can come true. Nothing is impossible. It's like taking back your power to say that I get to decide what femininity is.
The Rugby Rising Locker Room.
Hello, and thank you for joining us in the Rugby Rising Locker Room in partnership with Mastercard. I'm Maud and this is Sadia Kabea.
Our guest today is Harlequin plus South African prop Babalwa Latsha, or BB.
BB is an absolute powerhouse and was the first African woman to play professional rugby.
Off the field, BB is equally impressive. She is known for championing gender equality, challenging period poverty in South Africa, plus using her platform to empower women through sport.
What an incredible CV. BB, welcome to the show. Now let's start at the beginning. What was life like growing up in South Africa?
Well, thanks for having me. It's really cool to be chatting to you guys today. Look, I come from Khayelitsha, Cape Town, which is a township in Cape Town. As you would imagine, or maybe not imagine, growing up there was pretty rough, especially for a young girl who's trying to understand the world, who's trying to, I guess, find her way. It was particularly tough because I think Khayelitsha is a township that's quite notorious, high crime stats and things of that nature. But yeah, we survived and here we are today.
Here we are.
And how did you get into rugby in the first place?
Well, one of the things that I'm most grateful for in life was that rugby found me. I first caught a glimpse of it, surprisingly, in Khayelitsha, through a program, a coaching clinic of sort. I got curious of it, but I think I got a real serious taste of it when I first got to university, where I studied towards a law degree at the University of the Western Cape. I think that was the first time that I actually seriously picked up a rugby ball and considered playing it, which I did, and I just made team after team. Before that, I honestly never would have imagined, that rugby was a thing for girls more than anything else. So yeah, I'm just really happy that I picked up a rugby ball.
And I'm happy you picked it up, but I'm not happy that you ran at me on the pitch.
And me.
But I'm glad you're enjoying it. So obviously this episode, we're going to be talking a bit about body image. What was your relationship like growing up with your body?
I think it took me probably all my life to establish that relationship, to hone that relationship, to embrace it, to help it flourish. Because how I viewed myself and how the world viewed me were two different things. To the world, I was labeled a tomboy. I was too strong, too muscular. My hair wasn't straight enough. But I think it took me embracing me to understand that, hey, actually, my body is amazing just the way that it is. It does amazing things for me. And I think the best tool within that process for me was playing rugby. Because when I was playing rugby, I wasn't too strong or too big. My body was accepted. My image was accepted. How I looked was perfectly fine. And I think that is what helped me to, accept myself more than anything else.
It is nice in rugby teams. I feel like it's really empowering and you want to be stronger, you want to show off your muscles. I feel like we all really appreciate, when I see your muscles, I'm like, oh, look at your muscles, they're getting good, Sads. I feel like that's what the rugby environment allows, and we celebrate it, don't we, in rugby?
Absolutely.
We really do try and celebrate it. Speaking about that, a lot of young girls do struggle with growing muscles and trying to get stronger. What's your opinion on that, and what would you say to a young girl that's struggling?
Well, I think the first thing is to embrace the uniqueness of your body. I mean, our bodies are amazing in that they come in all different types of shapes and sizes. So I think the first thing would to accept that, hey, maybe I'm taller than everybody else, or maybe I'm a little bit more muscular than everybody else, or I'm not as much muscular than anybody else. And I would really encourage them to just take that first step to say, hey, it's more about what my body can do for me than what it looks like. If they need help with maybe putting on muscle, there are always people or information around that, but I think the work really starts intrinsically by saying that, hey, actually, this is me, this is what my body is capable of, and take it from there, really.
Yeah, no, I really agree with that, especially being someone who was in a position where I was like, I don't want to gain any more muscle. Naturally, genetically, I'm more muscly. And growing up, I always did loads of sports, but didn't want to look like I did loads of sports. And it wasn't until I started taking rugby seriously that I thought, you know what, my body has this power already. I need to hone it and enhance it, and I'm actually gonna lean into it. So yeah, it's really, really important. But moving more onto like the professional side of rugby and higher levels of rugby, it demands that you're strong. It demands that you're physical, especially with the positions that we play in the forwards, in the front row. Yeah,
Front row
sorry.
especially.
Yeah, okay, right. Anyway, moving on. How did it kind of affect you when you started to see your body changing in terms of getting rugby fit? And it could have been in a positive way, it could have been in a negative way, but how did it kind of affect you and how you saw yourself?
Well, for me, it was actually quite encouraging when I started noticing that my body is changing, that I felt I was getting stronger, just generally I felt really, really good because, like I had said, I had accepted myself a long time ago. And because I understand why my body was changing, it made it a whole lot easier. And also because I'm a sportswoman, I'm a rugby player more than anything else. I play in the front row, so I have to be strong. Like you said, I have to. Yeah, props for the win. So, so I think the more I understood the professional side of sports and what is required from a physical point of view, it is when I started to feel encouraged, when I got stronger. Maybe this 1 week I could bench press more than I did 2 weeks ago. I could squat more. For me, that's really empowering, and I feel the stronger I feel, the better I feel, I guess.
Yeah, and it is a unique sport. Have it be, second rows, they're tall, and like it's a sport for all, like all shapes and sizes. The scrum halves tend to be shorter. I feel like it's such a unique sport where everyone kind of is accepted, no matter what your shape or size. It's a really special sport, isn't it?
And that's the beauty of it, I suppose.
We really celebrate strengths on and off the field. How has it helped you in gaining your confidence?
Oh gosh, I think rugby has helped me be a more confident woman in general because, first of all, it's empowering to be surrounded by phenomenal women in the first place. Your teammates who are always rooting for you, who are always, willing to help you when you feel you need help. I never felt that I was ever on my own. So that for me was just exceptionally empowering and, built my confidence in a very unique way. I think it shaped dominantly or in a quite a big way how my outlook on the world was. I think it changed the way that I viewed myself, the way that I'm also able to identify and take opportunities that the sport brings because I have that sort of elevated sense of self and confidence.
So in terms of your body image journey, from a young age, was there a person or a moment in particular that kind of was a changing point in you feeling more confident and more comfortable in that?
I think I was really fortunate in that I had a really good support system at home. I only have one other sibling, my sister, who is 18 years old now. Because we're such a small, tight-knit family, my dad always encouraged, being healthy, training, and all those kinds of things. And so did my mom, because she was a sports person back in her days. So at home, it was acceptable, it was encouraged. And, my dad would make sure that one way or another I had some type of access to a field or a gym, as scarce as it was at the time. But I think, a good support system really helped me to be at least comfortable at home, if not anywhere else.
And you spoke about having like a tight sport network at home. Have they always been encouraging in whatever you decided to do? Like, was there any sport or any pathway you decided to choose before you went into rugby?
For the most part, my parents have always been supportive of the sports that I took up. I did athletics when I was younger, shot put and discus throw, javelin throw, those types of things, because I was a strong girl, I played a bit of football, which my parents, supported as well. The rugby part, it took them a little bit of time to accept it because every other week I'd come back home with a bruise and they were just like, oh, this looks so dangerous. But I think what sort of changed their mind was the fact that they could see that I enjoyed it. They could see how it changed me. I went from being this big, strong, shy, equally timid girl to this, bolstering, empowered, young lady. So, yeah, I think now they are very much in support of what I do. Even my little sister, she's also just taken up the sport as well. They're equally as supportive of her as well, because they've seen what the sport of rugby can do to a young girl.
Have you done anything for your sister, like to try and empower her and show her that like being comfortable in her own skin is something that she needs? Or is it kind of just a natural thing that's happened and she's watched you grow up and play rugby?
I think it's a bit of both. She's had a front view or front row seat, at experiencing my sports journey and even my life journey. She's always been by my side. I've always kept her by my side, playing the obvious older sister role, in encouragement, even mentoring, I guess. And I think we have a lot of similarities. We like similar things. And she's taken to rugby very easily. She's taken to the whole idea that she can be whatever she wants, which I've always tried to, help her see, that she can excel at anything. It doesn't have to be rugby, but she just so happened, to like it. But I think in order for me to be a good role model to anybody else, I have to be a good role model to her first. So she is probably the most important young person in my life at the moment.
Oh, that's sweet. And have you got any, if you could say one thing to the listeners, what message would you give on body image and confidence to them?
One thing.
One thing, yeah.
Acceptance. It begins with accepting. Accept who you are. Accept how you are. Accept your abilities, even the things that you can't do as well as you'd like. Just accept that. And I think once you do that, everything else just becomes a little bit easier.
Falls into place.
Snaps.
We were just wondering what the cultural differences in South Africa are on the beauty standard of women.
Well, in my opinion, it's more or less the same, I would imagine, because for the most part, in what a woman is supposed to look like, or the views around women in South Africa and possibly the world is still through the prism of a male. It's about the male gaze. It's about what men decide, what femininity is and what it should be. But I think there's a brand new revolution in South Africa and in Africa as a whole, where young women are starting to own their own narrative. They're starting to embrace themselves and their bodies. And it's become a really cool cultural shift. But I still feel like there's so much more work to be done in terms of, how we help women view themselves first, more than anything, so that they can ultimately, counter those stereotypes, break down those barriers, to say that, hey, I don't want to be boxed. I don't have to fit a particular mold. In fact, there is no mold. So it's like taking back your power to say that I can be whatever I want. I can look, whatever I want. I get to decide, what femininity is, what makes me feel good as a woman. So there's a really good shift, I think, that's starting to gain a bit of momentum. But again, in the same breath, I feel there's still a lot of work to be done around that.
Yeah, definitely worldwide, I think. The shift in women becoming stronger and becoming a norm in that, stronger body is definitely on the upwards trajectory, and hopefully much more to come.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that you mentioned the male gaze. So I feel like very recently, I feel like I've been hearing a lot about the female gaze and kind of seeing yourself with the female gaze, how you would see someone else who looks like you. How would I see someone else who has my muscles or who runs like me? I would think, wow, yeah, they're pretty cool if you look at it through the female gaze. But a lot of the stuff that society shows us is through that male gaze. And I think, especially when we're talking about women and young girls and accepting body image, it's a really cool thing to try and see it through that female gaze.
Women who play rugby and sport are like the perfect role models to shift that. The more they see of us, I think, the quicker and better that, whole cycle can change.
And I think it's been really clear in terms of social media. We've seen people like Alona Ma, Iman Khalif, who are really strong, powerful, confident women who are now being put on a pedestal for everyone else to see. And how do you feel, being someone who is a rugby player, who's professional, seeing that kind of reflected in the media as well?
I think that's great. It's probably the best thing to ever happen, in my opinion, because I think that young people consume social media a lot. They consume what's being put out there at alarming rates. So why not put the right things on there, you know? So I'm just really happy and proud that finally, you know, the world is somewhat paying attention and catching on and actually realizing how big potential and tapping into that potential as well that sports women have, that, you know, strong women have. They don't even have to be in sport. Women who are powerful in their own right, in whatever sphere of life. They could be CEOs or, you know, that type of thing. So I think it's really empowering and it's amazing. Power to them.
Power to them. It's great to see, especially like the reactions of people who are seeing, you know, these stars on social media for the first time. You haven't watched rugby, you haven't watched boxing, but they're seeing a woman who looks like that and perceive, you know, in a way where they're so confident, and it's introducing them to something they haven't seen before. And, you know, for us, I think as rugby players, seeing them in the mom, I'm like, oh, like, she's great, she's a rugby player, but like, I know her, like, I know who she is.
Yeah.
But it's amazing for the people who are now being introduced to that as something new. So yeah.
Even like my sister, who literally doesn't even play rugby or doesn't have much to do with it, she's like, oh, do you know Alona Ma? And I'm like, yeah, that's so cool that people that don't even know rugby are starting to talk about people and like sporting stars, and then they're, you know, it just is a ripple effect, and hopefully that just continues and the women's game keeps growing and people become more confident, and it's just, a chain effect, and really excited for the future.
Yeah.
So obviously you became and are the first woman in Africa to play professional rugby. How does that feel? How did that make your family feel? But I can imagine it's a very prideful thing.
It was quite a big moment. It still is. I'm exceptionally proud of that step. But more than anything, for me, it meant that a brand new avenue was open for South African or African female rugby players. You know, all we needed was just an opportunity. I think talent is one thing that we are not short of in South Africa and in Africa as a whole, from a sporting perspective and even beyond. And I think that one opportunity that I got, or was fortunate enough to get, to play overseas and to be the first, was groundbreaking. But in the same breath, for me, it was to create a path or blaze a trail for others to follow. It wasn't just about me. It meant so much more. It meant now a girl in Khayelitsha, where I grew up, can dream bigger because there is a positive point of reference. Someone has done it before, so surely it must be possible. So for me, it meant that, you know, my dream had come true, but more than anything, it was to say others' dreams can come true. Nothing is impossible. You just need one opportunity, literally just one opportunity.
And you're paving the way for future generations, and it's just so inspirational.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We actually have a little interactive moment now where we offer some priceless advice in partnership with Mastercard.
So the question is, I'm getting bigger and I'm telling myself it's good for rugby, but feel so self-conscious whenever I'm not on the pitch. How do you suggest I deal with people's opinions on my body when I want to be feminine and strong?
Well, the first thing would be that, first of all, people's opinion don't make who you are. And the second thing is that, you know, she gets to decide what feminine is. She gets to decide what makes her feel good on and off the pitch. And I think once she's figured that out and have decided that, she should be in a better position to say that, you know, I'm beautiful just the way that I am. And again, she gets to decide what beautiful means, you know, so it's about taking back her power. It's about owning her narrative and owning her own sense of self, that, you know, all the external things. If gosh, I get so many DMs and so many comments on social media about a photo that I post showing off my muscles. There will be someone saying that, you look so big and muscular, that's not nice, blah, blah. But it doesn't get to me because I decided to own my own narrative and own, you know, my own power to say that people's opinion don't make who I am.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I definitely went through this as well. I can distinctly remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking that, like, I had a medical condition because I had a big belly. Like, it's wild to me that I thought that when I was younger. But I think a lot of girls do relate, and I do get so many DMs being like, I feel the same, like I feel really big and I don't know what to do. But I think as long as you just love yourself and accept yourself, and think that your body is doing incredible things. Like, I would not be able to do half the things I could do on a rugby pitch if I was half my size, maybe not a quarter of my size, whatever, if I was much smaller than I was. So I think it's just, taking out the positives, isn't it? And just trying to believe and love yourself.
Totally. I think that is, you touched on a very important point, like loving yourself. Self-love is so important to me because it speaks to self-worth and how I view myself. So, gosh, loving yourself deeply is so, so important. It changes your whole perspective about yourself and about, your body. I can totally relate to feeling self-conscious. I've been there. Honestly, I have. I didn't just sleep and wake up one morning and decide that, hey, I'm going to accept myself and love myself. It's a whole process. But as soon as you just start loving yourself, everything just changes, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
No, amazing. I mean, thank you so much, BB, for coming on today and speaking to us. It's been really insightful. You speak so well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of young girls watching will take a lot away from the episode. And thank you to everyone at home for watching. If you enjoyed this one, please check out more episodes of Rugby Rising Locker Room in partnership with Mastercard. Bye.